Hi, I'm Frank, and I like to do it myself. This 2009 Aston Martin DB9 has a problem with this windshield washer. It's clogged. I'm going to show you how to get it unclogged. The windshield washer is located right underneath here. And in order to get to it, I'm going to need to take the tire off and take part of the wheel well out to get to it. It's a pretty easy task. Some people say that you can just turn the wheel all the way to the right, which puts that tire in, and then get to it that way. It's going to be a little easier to just take the tire off, so that's what we're going to do. As I push the button to wash the windshield, you can see little bits of water coming out. It's not a good spray like it's supposed to be, but I can hear the motor running. That tells me that the motor is fine, the pump is fine. There is fluid in the reservoir, but something is keeping a nice stream from happening, and that's going to be where the filter is clogged. I'm going to show you how to unclog it. I have the car up on quick jacks. I like the quick jacks. They raise the whole car up, variable heights, all hydraulics, so I can raise and lower it as I see fit. You can use a regular jack as well. You'll just put it underneath the passenger side towards the front. But right in here is where the washer fluid is. Now there are several T30 Torx along the inside to get the liner out. You can probably get away with just doing half the liner. We're just going to take half of the screws holding in the wheel liner out, and I'll just pull this part back. You can take the whole thing out. It's not that much more difficult, but there's not really much need for me to do that. So we're just going to do the half of it. This is a T30 Torx. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that you just need to take off, and then we'll be ready. All right. So here's the motor that we need to disconnect. There are 6 T30 Torx along the inside half and 4 underneath. That'll allow us to get in to where the pump and water bottle is. I'm going to put a bucket underneath here because when I remove this pump, which basically is just pulling up and snapping out, it's going to start leaking. This little grommet right here is the filter. You can see the little holes in the bottom. I just pulled this out with my fingers. It does take some prying because it is a nice press fit, but you can reach in with your fingers and pull this out and then go ahead and clean it. Make sure you have everything seated properly, pushed all the way down and back in. If you disconnected any of the electrical connections, make sure they're back in. When you put the water back in, make sure that there are no leaks, and then go ahead and test the system. Well, that didn't do the trick. We still have just a little bit of water coming out. So my next thought is, maybe it really is the pump. Could be the impeller in the pump not really working properly. So we're going to replace the pump next. This is the part number for the motor and the motor itself. This goes into the reservoir tank. There is the electrical connection, and this goes to the windscreen nozzles. And I've taken the electrical connector off, and I'm going to rotate this out. Now, because I've already checked the filter, I won't be taking that out again. The filter again is this little rubber piece right at the bottom. So I'm going to leave this in. I replaced all the washer fluid with a mixture of some concentrate Rain-X. So I'm going to try to swap this out as quick as I can. I'm going to disconnect this hose so that I'll be ready to go. Pull right off. Get that out. The new one in. My hose back on. Then the electrical connector. All right, that little snap ring is designed just to hold this connector on firmly. So there we are. Lost hardly any fluid at all. Now it's time to check it out, see if it works. Well, how disappointing. It still is not doing what it should be doing. So now I got to look someplace else. We're going to be looking at now the hoses to see if maybe it's kinked somewhere. I started tracing the hose as it came from the jets, and what I found was right at this point there was a kink, and it was bent to a degree that it was not only cutting it off, cutting the flow of water off, but as I went to try to straighten it out, it just came apart. So for whatever reason, it kinked in here and ended up breaking. So rather than start tracing all these hoses back, getting another hose, I ended up getting a splicer. This is a 3/16 splicer. I'll put on each end and complete the repair. Here is half of it in. Basically, it'll just push in. A 3/16 is the right size. I'll get the other half in just a minute. Now the other half is in. I'm just going to snap them back into the clips. I'm wrapping some electrical tape around where this is going to fit in, just to give it some extra strength there. So there's one in. The other one is down here. All right, and there we have it. Now to test it out. That's a good spray. All right, we have the washer working again. So as a recap, what we did was the washer wasn't working. It was spraying just a teeny little bit, not enough to do the job. With a Mercedes that I have, it was the clogged filter of the washer. So the first thing I did was take that off, take the filter out, clean it up, make sure it was working, make sure it was not clogged. Put it back in, still didn't work. So the next thing I thought of was the impeller in the motor. The motor was turning, but if there's something wrong with the impeller, then it won't suck the water, push the water through. We replaced the motor, still didn't work. This was something that came on very suddenly, so it would seem logical to me that it would either be a clogged filter or the impeller in that motor. As it turned out, that was neither of the problems. So I started tracing the lines and found the kink. So we replaced that kinked piece that was also broken with a 3/16 sleeve, and then put it back in. Everything's working well again. So if you have that problem, you can check the filter, but before you start getting into buying a pump, just check the bend in that corner and see if your hose is kinked or possibly broken. That's where I ended up, and everything's working good again. Easy job for anyone, just make sure you know the right thing to do.